Hey, welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Robin. I'm the host of this one-man show coming to you every Monday, 6 a.m. UK time. And today, well, D23 is very much across, I think it's going to happen basically this Friday, I assume, this coming Friday. So I thought it would be fun to have one little episode about, all the X-Men casting, confirmations as of now, and also speculations about other characters. As of now, we have three characters who have been, of course, confirmed. One of them is, of course, Jean Grey, who we have the biggest confirmation of because she was, of course, in, if you haven't seen Spider-Man, the latest Spider-Man movie, spoiler alert, but she is played by Sadie Sink. And I do recommend you listen to my review of Spider-Man to also see what I think about this reveal and Sadie Sink playing the character. But to keep it short, I'm very pumped. She's very, very interesting. I think she's going to be a very different type of Jean Grey, which is refreshing. I think we need something a bit different because the previous versions of the character, there's two versions already in the cinemas, in the movies. We already had Jean Grey a couple times, so it's fun to see something a little bit different, although also at the same time something a little bit familiar with her storyline. And I think it's fun to have the X-Men being young and seeing them grow together and have this component of having them be sort of young, but then starting off together and then seeing how their stories develop long term. So I think it's fun. I think it's fresh. I think it's new. I mean, I was trying before getting into this episode to see what possible comics they could be pulling from, especially given the age of the characters. But I will be getting into that as well. But first, I want to talk, of course, about the two other confirmed actors playing X-Men roles, confirmed by Deadline, which I think is pretty good confirmation, to be honest with you, because these trades they never report unless they have actual sources, like proper real things. And so the first one that was confirmed after Jean Grey being played by Sadie Sink was Emma Frost being played by Samara Weaving, which is incredible. It's probably out of the three people that have been confirmed the most comic books accurate in that sense. Like, she is the most Emma Frost ever, which is insane. So good. We're so lucky to have that, and I think this is going to be iconic. It's going to be very, very iconic. I do hope the hair and makeup department really hones it and really goes for it, because I'm a little bit mad about what they did to my girl Sue Storm in the new Fantastic Four rendition, because they didn't give her a proper cool look. She looked a bit iffy, to be honest with you. So I'm very excited to see that, at least, and I'm excited to see, hopefully, a proper rendition of Emma Frost, which we never properly had. We did have an Emma Frost in the Fox X-Men, but it was not really well fleshed out and well characterized, which was quite in the background as well. She wasn't really a prominent figure, so to have her be the second person confirmed, I'm very excited about. And then the third one, which came as a big surprise because this was the most speculated about character. It was the character of Cyclops. It's been confirmed it's going to be Kit Connor from Heartstopper, most famously, and the Romeo and Juliet play, I think, in New York, I think it was. Anyways, massive news, because there were so many different rumors about who which actor would play the role and everything else, and I think overall quite surprised, but also I think I'm wrapping my head around it, and it makes sense age-wise to be him, first of all, because it's in the close proximity to the Jean Grey character, of course, now with Sadie Sink. So it seems to me that slowly like a bigger idea is forming at the moment. Now, I do feel like this is like putting us again into an interesting direction, because Emma Frost, or at least Samara Weaving, is older than the other actors that I've just named. So I'm wondering if they're taking a bit of inspiration from the Gen X, Generation X X-Men, where the team was a new team of new mutants, completely different from the core X-Men of teenagers, though, or like teenagers, teens, or in their 20s, were led by Emma Frost. And maybe they might be taking some elements from that and applying them to the actual like core members of the X-Men, but making them, of course, start off as teens or in their 20s and all that, which would be fun to see. Would be interesting to see as well. I definitely feel like what's coming off at the moment is that Emma Frost might be not in the same group as like the actual core X-Men, that she will be like a more important figure in terms of like Professor X moment. I'm actually not even sure if they're going to do Professor X immediately. I'm sure they will. Professor X has to be there. There's no way they're going to put Professor X, but it seems to me that Emma Frost might be the one on the field. And that's very, very, very fun. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it. So the only comic I could think of is Gen X, to be honest with you, in terms of where Emma Frost fits age-wise. They might have to change, though, of course, some things, because famously, Emma Frost has an affair with Cyclops, but it no longer will happen, I would assume, in this way, because of the age gap. So interesting to see. And yeah, I do think they will try and still incorporate the origin stories for all the other X-Men as well. That will be pretty fun to see. And to be quite honest, Cyclops has always been the main character in the X-Men. Technically, he's always been the leader, the one who has been at the forefront, and Wolverine just became the more famous one just because of the Fox X-Men movies that had a better Wolverine than a better Cyclops. So I'm excited to see. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure about Kate Connor. I'm coming, I guess in a way I'm getting my head around it. In my brain, Cyclops is like lanky and tall, but also like slender-ish. He's muscular. He has to be like very, prominent, but it's a bit of a in between, like a beefy and like a slender man. Like he has to be muscular, but he's also not like massive bulky in that sense. So at first when I saw Kate Connor, I was like, but he's like more beefy rather than like, lanky. But he's quite tall too, so I think he could easily play it. I think they really have to really sell it, I guess. They really have to make him look the part, if that makes any sense. Because Kate Connor sometimes has this like more, more of a different look where he has like a beard and everything else and like shorter hair. What we need here is, shaved Kate Connor with like, a more lush hairstyle, let's just say. That would be pretty cool. I do see, however, the combo with Sadie Sink pretty well, like forming up. That to me, I can see clearly. I can see them both playing together. That would be so fun. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they will try and do like a mixture of everything. There's a lot of stuff being said about Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Essex, whatever, being possibly a villain, like being set up for the X-Men, which would make sense because he in the comics has been extremely obsessed with Jean Grey and Cyclops specifically and trying to get their genome. He's basically like a doctor, a scientist whose sole purpose in life is to study and gain stuff from the mutants. Like he's obsessed with like the mutants. He wants to, use their powers to his advantage and all that, and so he becomes sort of like this immortal being, and he makes his whole life a task to, like, study the mutants and get their genes and, like, all that stuff, like the Gen X, the Gene X, sorry, not Gen X. So yeah, that would make sense, and that would be actually pretty fun to have a different villain from Magneto, because we've had Magneto twice already, and I do think they will do it. To be honest, I do want this. This is one thing I really want. I do want a different villain from Magneto. I still want Magneto eventually to be in it. Maybe it will not be immediately put in the X-Men movie, but I do want a different villain for the X-Men, because why not? Let's just do it. Let's do something different with them, Now, that being said, there are plenty of other rumors. Well, the rumors are definitely, like, around, like, the different X-Men members. Who will it be? Everyone is, of course, betting on having another Storm, which I would love to have. And people are saying that it might be the girl who was in Sinners. And there is a rumor that Ryan Coogler has been tasked to be the one who's going to introduce that character to the big screen, and I would really love to see that as well, because I think there is a history of Storm with the Wakandans and everything else, so that would be pretty sick. And also considering that the movie, like the Black Panther movie, is coming out in 2028, well, it's like one of the next chapters basically for Marvel. I think that would make sense. So yeah, that would be pretty sick. I definitely feel like that should be in. I do want Mystique. I do want a new Mystique, and I'm now questioning who would be playing that. People were saying Hunter Schafer, and I think Hunter Schafer would be perfect for the role, but I'm not sure now age-wise if she would fit into that, unless again they make Mystique same age as Emma Frost. But that would mean, again, changing the story once again and diverging from the comics quite a bit, so I'm not entirely sure how I would feel about that. That'll be fun. Then, of course, Beast is also rumored to be part of the lineup. There are so many different, rumors about it. I'm not entirely too sure who I would want to have, play Beast. And who else? Yeah, you have Rogue as well, and I think there's a strong rumor that the two actors from Beef will be Beef, the TV show, will be playing Rogue and Beast. We'll see if that's true. That would make sense, to be honest, because those two actors, like the Beef was directed by the future director of the X-Men, basically, and which is the same director and writer of Thunderbolts as well. So that would make sense to bring them two along, because we already have a relationship with the directors. But we'll see. That would be fun. I do think the casting rumor for Rogue at the moment is quite fun and quite spot on. I'm excited to see that. Yeah, Gambit. I would love to see a Gambit as well. But I think overall my wish lineup, let's just say in terms of, like, not necessarily characters, actors, more like characters. I mean, of course, Cyclops and Jean Grey and Emma Frost at the moment. But I would 100% want Angel and Iceman, because those two, I think, are so cool. And I do think they've tried to do them in the Fox movies, but they've only done them in a very superficial level. So I would want them to get a spotlight, I guess, in this. And I think they should go even more, classic with that, because those were technically, including with Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast from you, Mr. Beast, not the Mr. Beast, a YouTuber, but Beast, that those were the original X-Men like original first ever comics, basically. So that would be fun to see. I do hope that could be the case. To be honest with you, I would love to see that original lineup. Now, in terms of how that would fit with the MCU, this is going to be uncharted territory because the X-Men movies that we've had so far have been sort of like what has happened with the Spider-Man movies, passing the baton, but like, none of them were ever involved in the MCU until we got the Tom Holland movies. And it does seem to me that the idea that they're going for, especially because Jean Grey has been introduced with Spider-Man, is that they want to try and do and replicate what they've done with Spider-Man, which is, aim for a new generation of fans and make the casting, a bit on the younger side so that the actors can play that role and grow into a role which with each movie. So I do see a similar pattern with the Spider-Man movies, especially if you think about the reboot situation, or not reboot necessarily. I guess what they're doing is just like a new version of them. It would make sense because it's the same thing that happened with Spider-Man. They've had two iterations of Spider-Man already, and now that the MCU is all joined together, they went with a third, a newer version of it, which was more aimed at younger fans, I guess, with Tom Holland, and they're gonna do the same with this with the X-Men. I think it's gonna be interesting to see who's gonna get to play Wolverine, because Hugh Jackman has been so famous in that role, and he's still apparently playing it maybe in the new Avengers movies too. So that'll be fun to see. I do feel like once we start getting the proper announcements, possibly at D23 this week, we will get a better idea of what the age range is and what they're trying to do. So yeah, a lot to think about. A lot to think about. Adam Driver apparently has been rumored a lot around the X-Men, movie as well. We don't know if it's true, of course, or what role he would be playing, whether it would be Mr. Sinister or Magneto. We don't know, but he's been rumored to be, circling a role at the moment. That'll be fun to see. Yeah. So hope this makes a lot of sense. It's just like a fun experimentation. I just do think that, like, I see a lot of people, a lot of older X-Men fans being a bit frustrated about the age thing and a bit about everything else, but I do think this is a good idea. I think it's just marketing wise, it makes so much sense to try and move on from that. Also, because realistically, we've already done that. We've already received like adult X-Men, and I think it'd be fresh to have a different team and to have a more youthful team that can step into the Marvel universe. Also, because like, what would be the point of having another adult team if you already have the Avengers and whatnot? So yeah, I think it would be fun to also see like maybe them interact with the Avengers, with the actual Avengers eventually. So, and maybe that the Avengers becoming their sort of like role models, or like, exemplary team to follow. That's just pure speculation, but I do support this idea of them being on the younger side and having a new generation of X-Men fans being born. Let's see if they can deliver. I hope they do, and what I really want as well to see is a great, combination of action sequences. Like, the X-Men is a pretty big team, and I want to see the team work together basically and use their powers together. So yeah, I guess we'll know very soon. This is just like, again, pure speculation. I think I might make another episode once we know for certain what happens at D23. But yes, okay, I'm leaving you guys to the sponsor of of this week for the podcast, and then on to songs of the week. Yay! Stay tuned. Now, I love coffee, and sometimes I want the whole coffee experience without also committing to being completely wired for the next 6 hours. And that's exactly where Savorista comes in. Savorista makes premium craft decaf and half calf coffee for people who still want genuinely good coffee, just with a little less caffeine. They use high altitude Arabica beans from places like Colombia, Ethiopia, and Rwanda. And their coffee is naturally decaffeinated using water or sugarcane derived processes without harsh chemicals. Everything is also roasted in small batches to really bring out the flavor out of the beans. And these aren't boring decaf options either. Their Colombian inspiration decaf has notes of chocolate, caramel, and citrus, while the darker Total Eclipse decaf has walnut, baker's chocolate, and molasses. They've even got flavors like bourbon, pecan, and minted mocha, plus half calf options like barely buzzed if you still want a little bit of a kick. So whether you're trying to cut down on caffeine or want something you can drink later in the day, or if you just really, really want a good coffee without the full caffeine overload, definitely check them out. And I've arranged an exclusive 25% off for listeners of the podcast, the highest discount Savorista offers. Just head to savorista.com and use my code overshare pamphlet at checkout. That's again savorista.com, promo code overshare pamphlet for 25% off. And just so you know, I earn a commission when you use my code. So if you do decide to pick up something that you like, you're also helping support me and the podcast. Thank you to Savorista Coffee for sponsoring the episode. Right, we're here with Songs of the Week now, and we are slaying today because we are talking about a few songs that are quite interesting that I've been, very obsessed with, of course, and that I think they're all new basically except for one. There's only 3 songs, but 2 of them are new, and you might have listen to them already. I hope you have. I hope you've been paying attention as well. So the first one I want to talk about is Don't Leave Me on the Dance Floor by Carly Rae Jepsen. This is the 3rd single from her upcoming studio album called Day and Night, and this serves as the 3rd single as well. I think there's also a music video from this, but the song is, out of the 3, the most like 80s dance synth pop track that we've had out of the tracks. And this is definitely on like the night section of the album. The album is a double album basically with a lot of songs, and it's split as again like day and night. This is it. Like, this is the most Carly Rae Jepsen song ever. Like, this is probably like, giving me even older albums like Emotion, of course, but also a little bit dedicated as well with this. So cool. I love it. The beat is incredible. The production is just so beefy and so like synth pop, like pure. It's like Carly Jepsen like on full cylinders. So I definitely, if you want a little bit of a upbeat, like dancey song, definitely go for this one. This is just like, very, very fun. Then I have Brand New Chanels by Slater, of course, and that would make debut. It's an extension, I guess, of The World's Growing in America, and it's also a play on words. Like, the title is like sort of a nod at Beat Up Chanel's, which is one of the singles from their previous album. Again, World's Growing in America. So the song has been already, a surprise in the World's Growing in the World tour in July 2026, but the song is finally out, and Brand New Chanel's got his first live performance before it was even released, but he's been, very much present also in all the festival sets that she's done. This is more of like sort of like a breakup or like a hate you song, or like I guess like a breakup song as well. So different from The World's Going in America, but it's so like I I think there is some sort of like rock element to this, and not saying like it's actually like punk rock or whatever, but there's a lot of like live guitars in this. It's such a summery, hazy song, which is so interesting for Slater because the West Coast in America is very much hyper pop, aggressive pop as well, and this is like very emotive and hazy and melancholic, let's just say, which reminds me a little bit of one of her previous albums as well, to be honest with you, which is such a good surprise. The song is super catchy, but this reminds me a little bit of Troubled Paradise in some ways, and it's a bop. It's a bop. It's really catchy. It's very, very fun to listen to as well. I definitely recommend listening to this if you haven't done so already. And yeah, the last song is "I'll Take It" by Sophia Stell. This is, a very interesting track. I think Sophia, I've read some articles about it. It's like she played the beat for a friend and co-producer for the song, who immediately suggested they hit the studio and record this. And after basically a couple of bottles of wine, they wrapped up the song that same night in a basement club studio in Vancouver's Chinatown, which is such a fun story, very organic song, so fun. And it's classic Sophia style, like blending different elements to create a very beefy sound. Like she describes the song as a bit of a, and her style is a soundtracky style, which is so true. This is like it could be easily a soundtrack to a TV show or like a movie, and it's so fun. It's such a cool track. I definitely, it's definitely like soundtracking vibe, but it's so fun. I definitely recommend listening to it. I don't know much about Sophia Stell apart from the song, but it's a hit, and it did get quite a few listens already. So this is a song from last year, I believe. I think so. Yeah. So definitely go and give it a listen. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised if you want like a cinematic, but like still very moody track. This is it. This is pretty fun. Anyways, these are the songs. Have a great week. I'll see you next episode, and keep an eye open for D23, guys. Disney is about to give us a full rundown of what they're going to do in their near future. So let's go.